Good morning, my fellow Canadians. Actually, it's afternoon now, but immaterial. I'd like to introduce you to a Latin phrase I always liked. It's used in law, it's used by investigators in a crime. Cui bono. Basically, what it means is who benefits? To whom is the gain? Now, I look at that and I'm thinking to myself in regards to the blockades. Cui bono. Who benefits? The so-called protesters claim they're doing this for the environment or the natives. And yet the Aboriginals, the duly elected Aboriginal peoples, are saying, we want this pipeline. I'll get into that in a little bit. So who benefits? Who benefits from the disruption to rail traffic, to people's livelihoods? People are getting laid off. People are losing or putting their jobs on hold. They're not losing their jobs, but it's put on hold. Their incomes are being affected. Native bands, reservations who stand to benefit from this have this delayed now. Who benefits? Who benefits from stopping pipelines? Because these protesters, there's money there. The ones from out of town, who pays for their lodging, their food, their gas? The ones coming from out of town. If they're coming over from the US, who's paying for that? Their transportation, their lodging, their food. So there's money there. Follow the money trail. If you've watched old crime movies, the old French, cherchez la femme, look for the woman. I think modernize that, say cherchez l'argent, look for the money. Follow the money. Do we have the smug, self-righteous do-gooders? Yes. These are these brainwashed snowflakes who have been convinced or have convinced themselves that they are doing this for the benefit of the Wet'suwet'en or the people or the environment. Most of them, if you attempt to get them on a one-on-one and actually question them, you realize they are totally, absolutely brain dead. They will spout phrases, but they have never examined them. They don't even understand the issues. When you question them closely, you get that 1,000-yard moron stare. I've encountered a lot of these. I just, we almost dismiss them arbitrarily. But it's the professional protesters. Someone is paying these people. There's money there. Now, the other phrase I was going to bring into this, one of my favorite authors, which was Mark Twain, Samuel Langhorne Clemens. I loved a lot of his sayings I've used in different conversations at times because he had so much to say that was based on common sense. We're not talking about deep philosophy, though you could extend it if you chose. He once wrote, and I've always loved this, if anybody approaches you with the express intention of doing good, run like hell. Now, anybody who's ever been collared by, let's say, a rabidly fundamentalist Christian, or a fanatic really of any stripe, be it a political fanatic, a religious fanatic, a dogmatic absolutist who wants to collar you and swing you over to their side. Anybody who's ever encountered that, these people, the fundamentalists whom I've dealt with and met in the past, they are absolutely convinced that it is their mission from God to lead me to the path of God. Now, it never occurs to them that, am I a spiritual person? Do I have my own belief system? No. Their way is the only way, and it is their mission to save your soul. They never ask themselves, does my soul need saving? I bring that up because these protesters who hold up signs saying, we're doing this for the Wet'suwet'en. But wait a minute. As I understand it, the Wet'suwet'en elected chiefs, the ones who officially speak for the Wet'suwet'en, say, great, do it, bring it. So how can these people claim to be speaking for the Wet'suwet'en or doing this on behalf of the Wet'suwet'en when the Wet'suwet'en are saying, do it? Now, these hereditary chiefs, as opposed to the elected chiefs, the ones who are supporting these blockades, there has been, and I'd like to see this examined further or brought out, there has been a linkage that these people are getting paid by the Tides Foundation. So they're being paid to protest. They're being paid to protest something that will benefit their people. And I'd like to bring this up because I've worked with some Aboriginals. I met some of them when I was in Thunder Bay. Some of them tradespeople here in Toronto had their own businesses and the advantages of being a status Indian. The chiefs and the tribes that are saying, bring this, because what will be cui bono? Who benefits, right? The band will benefit. It gives potential to their young people for jobs, to earn money. Now, if you have a job and you're earning money, you acquire self-respect. You are filling a function. You're not living on the handouts. Handouts, by their very nature, erode self-respect and actually promote sloth. Why should you work if you're going to get free money? If you're going to get real money, these people, it gives them hope for the future. It gives them a chance to be independent, to earn their own money, to buy their self-respect. And the bands know this, outside of the money that will go to the bands, which is considerable. So these people who claim to be in support of the Wet'suwet'en are actually hurting them. Now, this isn't rocket science. I'm not a great pundit. I'm not a deeply or accredited philosopher, shall we say. But the logic of the thing is inescapable. So cui bono. Who benefits? This is the question. Canada does not benefit. The people who are reliant upon the rails, they're losing. The bands are losing. The people who benefit, like the stopped pipeline. So crude has to be shipped by rail, much more dangerous. But someone is making money shipping that crude by rail as opposed to a pipeline. Who benefits? If pipelines are shut down and not allowed to proceed, who benefits? People are always talking about these people are hurt, these people are hurt, the lack of propane, lack of liquid natural gas, lack of this, lack of that. Okay, these are the people who are harmed. I want to look at, like I said, who benefits. I would like to see an in-depth, a really good investigative reporter looking at this, saying, in whose interest is it to stop these projects? Something to think about. So this is not a long post. This is just basically ask yourself that question. Cui bono. To those brainless, mindless protesters out there, I understand you're looking for a cause, something that will validate your existence. When I worked at university, and I've touched on this before, I met the ones who have done what I call basket weaving 101 courses. That's what even other university students used to call them. These are courses that have absolutely zero practical application outside of an academic environment. Okay? Like the one individual I brought up before, his degree was in medieval folk dancing. Okay, get your master's, get your PhD, and teach your subject matter. You will never leave the halls of academia because you do not have any marketable job skill. Social psychology, people who do social psychology courses, that was a lot of the students I spoke to referred to that again as a basket weaving 101 course. Basically a useless do-nothing course. And there's all kinds of courses like that that are absolutely useless, have zero practical application in the real world or hope of getting a job. So what are they going to do? They're going to graduate from university with a useless degree. And like a lot of these protesters you see back at home, the boomerangs, out of home, back at home now, living in mommy and daddy's basement, living off mommy and daddy's largesse, maybe if they're lucky getting a job flipping burgers, if they're lucky to find a job. So what have they got to do with their time? Nothing. So they'll show up and protest and be socially oh so aware. They're actually rather sad, these people, because they don't even have any clue how stupid they are. Years ago, I dated a lady and her two kids. I pointed out something that I discovered many years ago. If you've ever read Alexander Pope's poem about a little learning being a dangerous thing, if you haven't, read it. It's called A Little Learning is a Dangerous Thing. Essentially, what it says is there's the flush of accomplishment when you start to learn. And there's also a sense of arrogance. You start to think you know more than you do. And this was the same thing applied to trades. And I happened to mention to her son and daughter that I was just as cocky as he had been at his age. He, I think, was at that time 15 or 16. I said, I was just as cocky as you at your age. I thought I knew I'd make these vast pronouncements and absolutes. I said, the beginning of true wisdom is when you come to recognize how little you know. So when you come to realize how stupid you are, that's when you really begin to learn. Now, my phraseology left me open for this. So he looked at me with a smirk, he's grinning, he says, so you're saying you're stupid? I said, yes. And he was gone. I said, but the difference between us is I'm smart enough to know how stupid I am. You're so stupid, you still think you're smart. He didn't like that. But it's true. The beginning of true wisdom is when you are humbled by realizing the depth of information out there and how little you truly know. It humbles you and it makes you a better person, actually, that humility. It also leaves you open to learning. Big one for the snowflakes, it leaves you open to learning, to listening to other points of view, to listening to other information other than what you've been spoon-fed. And that's one that I could ask regarding our society. Dumbing down the students coming out of school. Cui bono? Who benefits from this? Not our society, not our country. I'll have to give that some thought. Maybe do another post on that later. So anyways, bear that in mind. Who benefits? Follow the money. Have a great day.